This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Friday, the 17th day of September in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The chairperson of the People's National Congress Reform, Walter Lawrence, has announced that the Central Executive Committee of the party has set a timeline for the hosting of the party's 22nd biennial Congress. During a press conference this morning at Congress Place, Mrs. Lawrence announced that the Central Executive has agreed that the Congress should be held by the end of November, but not later than the 13th of December this year. In keeping with the COVID-19 situation in the country, the Congress is going to be held in a format that will include virtual participation by the delegates. It was explained that the Congress will be for delegates only, and because of the COVID-19 pandemic, it will be decentralized. Mrs. Lawrence said it will be conducted over one day at party Congress houses in the respective regions. A Congress committee will now be set up to begin making the other plans for the Congress, including the setting of nomination day.
Let me just say that the next step is for the Central Executive Committee to put in place the Congress Committee, which will then have all of the administrative committees set up, and then those dates and all the other dates for the realization of our Congress in the specific time will be done.
Mrs. Lawrence said the party has already created a document that will guide the virtual and hybrid hosting of the Congress and voting. The PNC chairperson, who is currently acting as party leader, dodged questions about whether she will be running for the position of party leader.
The committee recommendations were adopted by the Central Executive yesterday, and part of the recommendations were the dates. At our next CC meeting, we propose to deal with setting up the Congress Committee, which should be in another week time, and then that committee will carry out the mandate that is reposed in it by the leadership of the party. With regards to whether I intend to run, well, we will have to wait to see the nominations.
Party members have been pressing for the Congress since last year, but owing to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Congress date has been pushed back repeatedly. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say, but now that it's here, it will change life forever, and it is here to stay. The future is now, transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
Strap in.
You know that it is a fact. The deal on wheels is back.
For family,
Deal on wheels,
for security,
that's a fact.
for fun.
Deal on wheels.
Republic Bank Deal on Wheels is back. With same-day approval, reduced equity, longer repayment terms, and more. Plus, 3 lucky winners would win $100,000 each. Get the ride for you at Republic Bank.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL.
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
We've got exciting news! All 12-ounce yellow cab Buster are now only $100. Buster, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Buster, $100. Come get your Buster, $100.
GBTI, make your dreams of owning a home a reality. Buy or build your home with us. Let us help you to completely outfit your home and make it move-in ready. Need to purchase land? We finance that too. Benefit from our 10% down payment and interest rates as low as 4.25%. Calculated on the reducing balance with up to 30 years to repay. Switch your mortgage to us and learn about benefiting from the equity in your home. Invest wisely. Apply online or call your branch to schedule an appointment. GBTI, we see Guyana through your eyes.
Welcome back. High Court Judge Fidel Corbin Lincoln refused to grant the interim injunctions sought by the Guyana Trades Union Congress, the Guyana Teachers Union, and the Guyana Public Service Union in the court case challenging the government's COVID-19 and vaccination guidelines. The challenge by the three unions came weeks after the government added additional measures which bar persons from entering public buildings without vaccination or a negative PCR test. In her ruling, the judge explained that although the court has jurisdiction to grant the injunctions, she prefers that the matter be fully determined when the substantive matter is heard before another judge. The matter of whether the measures are covered under the Public Health Ordinance is also set to come up when the substantive matter is heard. A date has not yet been set for the matter to be heard. The applicants are asking the court to declare that the health emergency measures made by the President of Guyana and published in the official gazette were made in excess of the President's jurisdiction under Section 21 of the Public Health Ordinance. The attorneys also cite what they see as the most extreme measures which were recently put in place to get citizens vaccinated. The attorneys for the unions contend that the declaration made by the President amounts to an unconstitutional delegation of the President's powers and infringes on the Constitution. Attorney General Anil Nandlal has argued that the granting of an interim injunction in this case would have violated the presumption of regularity, the presumption of constitutionality, and amount to a predetermination of the substantive issues in the fixed date application. He was also arguing that the court did not have jurisdiction to hear the matter, but the judge has ruled that the court has jurisdiction. The chairperson of the People's National Congress and former Health Minister Walter Lawrence today called on the government to re-establish free COVID-19 testing sites across the country to gain more control of the pandemic and to assist those persons who have decided against vaccination. Guyana continues to see a surge in new COVID-19 cases and deaths. Over 3,000 new cases have been recorded in the past 2 weeks. Lawrence said while she encourages vaccination, the rights of citizens must also be respected, and therefore systems should be put in place by the government to accommodate everyone.
It is the government's responsibility to ensure that it manages the affairs of the nation by respecting the rights of citizens. The PNCR therefore calls on the government to immediately set up free PCR testing sites across Guyana so that the rights of citizens who wish not to take the vaccine are protected, as well as the rights of citizens who wish to take the vaccine. We also call on the government to recognize that COVID-19 vaccines will not prevent anyone from becoming infected, and its attention and additional resources must be directed towards reducing the infection rate across our country.
Mrs. Lawrence stayed clear of criticizing the government's response to the pandemic and its handling of new cases. She said politics should be left out of health.
I think we're in a pandemic and we got to take the politics out of health. I have said that as a minister, that the politics must be left outside of the gate. Because in the health sector, it's about saving lives. And I think that is what should be the minister's main focus in trying to ensure that we reduce the infection across the board and to ensure that we save as many lives as we possibly can. I believe that there needs to be more monitoring of households. We have said before, and we continue to maintain, that we have households where when one family member is infected, other family members cannot find other places to go and isolate. So you still have the mingling with the infected persons and the uninfected persons, and we believe that that leads to a wider spread of the infection.
The PNC chairperson said the opposition remains open to assisting the government with its plans and programs to fight the pandemic. However, the government has not responded to the requests of the opposition. The Minister of Health and the government have come under heavy criticism for their handling of the pandemic and reopening of an ill-prepared country as the cases continue to climb. Leader of the Alliance for Change and former Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjatan today described the SWAT unit's shooting death of executable businessman Orrin Boston as deeply disturbing and troubling. At an AFC press conference this afternoon, Mr. Ramjatan said there was an obvious violation of operating procedures by the SWAT unit and outright criminality by the members involved in the deadly executable operation.
The explanation from headquarters that it was unaware of why this invasion of homes of innocent Essequibbans that morning of the 14th of September 2021 has set a rot in the reputation of the Guyana Police Force.
Mr. Ramjatan observed that the reputation of the Guyana Police Force was noticeably stabilized between 2015 to 2020. He suggested that matters pertaining to the force are now being decided outside of the force, and that will contribute to more raids like the one which occurred on Tuesday.
That could only mean political interference. The PPP government has demoralized the professionalism of the force by a number of interferences.
Mr. Ramjatan said he wants to know why local detectives in Essequibo could not have carried out the arrests and raids if persons were indeed under the radar of the police force. Retired Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Rear Admiral Gary Best, today said the SWAT unit of the Guyana Police Force should only be dispatched under special circumstances. A member of the SWAT unit is currently under close arrest after an Essequibo businessman, Orrin Boston, was shot dead during a kick-down-door operation by the unit in the Essequibo region. The dead man's wife said she and her husband were in their bed when the SWAT team broke into their bedroom and opened fire, killing the husband with a single gunshot. Mr. Best, who is now an executive member of the People's National Congress, explained that the SWAT is the highest level of force within the Guyana Police Force and is used to go after high-profile suspected criminals.
SWAT is used to go after high-profile suspected criminals, and it is based on targeted intelligence. If you're going to go into someone's home without a warrant, as stated, then there's a particular section within the law that allows you to do that. Notwithstanding that, I would say, based on my experience, that the intelligence must be targeted, and the decision to use the SWAT must come from the top brass of the police force, because that is the commissioner's most important asset that he has available to him.
The former Chief of Staff noted that the SWAT team is the police commissioner's most important asset available to him, and therefore the team's operations must be sanctioned by the police commissioner. The police commissioner has admitted that he was unaware of the operations of the unit in the Essequibo region. The family of the businessman has called for an independent investigation. A post-mortem was completed yesterday, and it found that the businessman died from a single gunshot. The warhead was lodged in his body. A Tamiri couple lost their lives tragically on Thursday night in a freak accident in their own backyard as their septic tank collapsed. The wife, 42-year-old Camille Duarca, was heading to the toilet in the backyard when it is suspected that a concrete septic tank collapsed as she walked across it. A niece heard her cries for help and quickly raised an alarm. The woman's 51-year-old husband, Ramlal Madhu, jumped into the septic tank, which was more than 6 feet deep, and he collapsed and died beside his wife during his efforts to save her. It is suspected that the two might have died from the poisonous fumes. The fire service had to be summoned to extract the bodies from the septic tank. The police have ruled out any foul play, with no marks of violence being found on the bodies. The traumatized niece, who witnessed the tragedy, said she's still confused over what happened and how fast her uncle and aunt lost their lives after going into the human waste facility. The Federation of Independent Trade Unions of Guyana, FITUG, has taken note of the recent crime statistics published by the Guyana Police Force, which indicated that there has been a reduction in serious crime. FITUG is not buying that. The trade union said workers have also reported to the union that petty crimes are on the increase. According to the union, it wants the Guyana police force to step up its crime-fighting efforts to keep citizens safe. It said whatever is the motivation, they urge the authorities to seek to address them in a comprehensive manner. The union said it recognizes that the government has taken conscious decisions to equip the police force with tools to confront crime. Fitok said while the police force has had breakthroughs and successes in apprehending criminal elements, it is also necessary that those in charge with addressing crime fighting develop an appropriate and coordinated plan to address the menacing crime problem in Guyana. The Guyana Police Force recently released its crime stats, which indicated that serious crimes have been on the decline since the start of this year. According to the police, murders and robberies and aggravated assault and kidnappings have all seen a decrease.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
We've got exciting news! All 12-ounce yellow cab Buster are now only $100. Buster, live in
Come
full
get
color.
your Buster, Buster $100. Come get your Buster, Buster $100.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong, be the one to live right.
It's been a long time coming. Overdue, some might say. But now that it's here, it will change life forever. And it is here to stay. The future is now. Transforming Guyana into the 21st century. Introducing GTT Fiber. Experience internet connectivity like never before. Speeds you deserve at prices you can afford from a name you can trust. Sign up today. GTT Fiber is here. GTT. Together, we rise faster.
Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guyana Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guyana's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Across the region tonight, the office of Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry issued its first public statement yesterday about evidence the authorities say they have of phone calls between him and a key suspect in the presidential assassination, saying he received countless calls from people concerned for his safety following the slaying. The office said it is unable to identify all those who called him or determine the nature of the conversations, noting that Henry couldn't take all the calls. Former Port-au-Prince Chief Prosecutor Bedford Claude, whom Henry dismissed this week, invited the Prime Minister to meet with him to talk about two calls between him and Joseph Badiou that took place just hours after Moise was killed. Badiou once worked for Haiti's Ministry of Justice and at the government's anti-corruption unit until he was fired in May amid accusations of violating unspecified ethical rules. The police say they are looking for him on charges including murder. Claude said evidence shows that Badiou was in the vicinity of Moise's home when the calls were made, and then Tuesday, just hours before he was fired, the former prosecutor asked the judge in the case to charge Henry. The Prime Minister's office said political interests do not allow anyone to make serious and baseless innuendos, much less to attempt to hand someone over to popular retribution. Bahamian Prime Minister Hubert Minnis has conceded defeat in the general elections on the Atlantic Island chain, reeling from a surge in COVID-19 cases and a slump in the tourism-dependent economy due to the pandemic. Minnis called his challenger, Philip Davis, to congratulate him and his Progressive Liberal Party on winning the elections. Minnis had been hoping to become the first Prime Minister in 24 years to win a second 5-year term in the Bahamas. But Davis's PLP gained momentum with a campaign focused on what it termed the government's mishandling of the COVID-19 outbreak and the economy, which has seen unemployment surge to an estimated 20% and the fiscal deficit balloon during the pandemic. Some 119 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed on Wednesday, taking the active number to 1,679 in the nation of just over 400,000 people, while the positivity rate has hovered around 25% for the past 6 weeks. And finally tonight, international news. The international travel traffic light system is being simplified in England with a single red list as part of an overhaul of the rules from the 4th of October. The Transport Secretary Grant Shapps also said 8 countries would be taken off the red list from Wednesday. It means people returning from places such as Turkey will no longer have to stay in hotel quarantine, and PCR tests will no longer be required for fully vaccinated travelers returning to England. Under the new testing regime, people who have both jabs will not need to take a pre-departure test before leaving the country. And Mr. Shapps said later in October that they would be able to replace the day 2 PCR tests with a cheaper rapid lateral flow test. The Transport Secretary said the new travel rules will remain in place at least until the new year. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight and this week. I'm Gordon Mosley, thanking you for joining us and encouraging you to stay safe.